Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to our final session of the My Journey experience, where we will have 4 students who are currently in college share insights and perspectives on their college journey, their application journey, their admissions journey. I am Tina Gridiron, and I am Vice President for ACT Center for Equity and Learning, and it is my pleasure to facilitate today's session. You have already heard from many experts that have brought high quality information to you to help you navigate. But we wanted to make sure that we heard from a few students to get their bird's eye view about what students today are experiencing and what they need to know as they navigate the college admissions and application process. So with no further ado, I'm going to ask each one of our student panelists to introduce themselves. And we're going to go in this order: Fahad, Javeh, Charles, and then Chris. Please share your name, what school you attend, your major, what year you are in school, so that our students and educators on the call today will get a sense of who's with us. Fahad?
I'm Fahad Eldon. I'm a digital media major with a legal studies minor. I'm a sophomore and I attend University of Massachusetts Lowell.
Hello, my name is Javeh Harmon. I'm a freshman biological sciences major at Clemson University.
Hello, I'm Charles Sargent. I am a electronic arts video studies major with a history minor at Missouri State University.
Hi, my name is Christopher Wells. I am a sophomore and my major is biomedical science, or cellular molecular biology, and I attend Missouri State University.
I want to thank all of our panelists for joining us today and for being willing to share their story and their journey. I have a few prepared questions for each of you, and just so that everyone gets a sense of what to expect. We have 30 minutes with our student panelists. Each one will share about 2 minutes in response to the different questions that I have, but I have already heard part of their story, and I'm really excited about them sharing it with us today. So for our first question, we're going to start off with Fahad, and we're going to ask each one of our panelists to tell us a little bit about their test prep process, their college application process. What was your college journey as you were preparing for the admissions process when you were in high school? Tell us a little bit about your story.
All right, so for me, my journey, I would say, was not a straight, narrow path. For example, when I took the standardized test, the ACT, a lot of people were doing different exams, and I found the other ones to be, redundant and, frankly, like as many people would say, like overhyped. It didn't really work well for me, and I really enjoyed taking the ACT because I really liked the science section because it focused on critical thinking skills, and as someone who likes to do puzzles and loves rhetoric, I really enjoyed doing that part. I also enjoyed doing, the writing section of the exam, and it really helped in many ways. I remember practicing so much for that section, and it really helps with my current job where I do childcare, where I'm writing incident reports, where I'm on the library board where I'm doing writing. And, I feel like for me, I may have chosen a test that a lot of people in my school didn't do, but it was the right choice for me. So I always say, take the path less traveled and focus on what's best for you and not what other people are doing. So it's much easier said than done, but that was something I really had to learn during this process.
Thanks for sharing your story, Fahad. We're going to turn now to Javeh and ask you to share a little bit about your test prep, your college application process. We know that a lot goes into that process with getting recommendations from teachers and taking stock of all your extracurricular activities. Tell us a little bit about what your journey in test prep, in college application process, what was that like? And what did you find helpful or not so helpful about that process? Javeh?
So for me, I took the SAT and the ACT both multiple times, but I found that the ACT worked better for me because of the time between each section. And I also like the inclusion of the science section. For me, the college application process was pretty stressful because I thought I had all the time in the world, but I really didn't have that much time. Around this time last year, I was really struggling. I had no idea where I wanted to go to school. I was trying to decide what my major would be and if I wanted to take the test again for the third time. If you have not begun to think about what colleges you want to go to, I would advise to start thinking about that now, regardless if you're a senior, a junior, or even like a freshman. It's good. It'll make the process less stressful. I would recommend going to your guidance counselor because their job is to help you throughout this process. My guidance counselor used to always tell us that they wanted us to succeed and to come to them as much as needed. I would encourage everyone on the college application process. I know a lot of colleges don't require essays or don't require test scores now since the COVID pandemic, but I would encourage everybody to take the test at least once because I know some colleges require test scores and some don't. So a good rule of thumb is to go ahead and just take the test. And I would also encourage students to write the essay, even if your college doesn't require an essay, because everybody was special. Everybody had good grades. Everyone was in multiple extracurriculars, but the essay really helps you stand out and it helps your college see why you would be a good inclusion to their university.
Thanks so much, Javay, for sharing a few nuggets and words of wisdom. We're going to turn it over to Charles next to tell us about his journey. Charles.
Hello, everybody. So my journey was pretty set straight for me. I'm the youngest of three, and they had both taken the ACT, and I had everything lined up for me in my path to make sure that I would succeed on my ACT. I got all the tips from them about studying and working hard and making sure that even if you don't do as well as you hope so on the ACT, that your grades are going to be just as good. And that, when I'm starting to apply to colleges, to make sure I do everything that is necessary to make sure I succeed. And to also, when I'm taking the ACT, to focus and to not stress and to just still be yourself during the test, after the test, and no matter how you do, just being yourself and remembering why you came to take the test. I came to take the ACT just so I can, see if I can offer for some scholarships that I wanted. Although I didn't get them, I still didn't veer away from why I came here. I came here to prove to myself that no matter how big or daunting the test is, I'm still going to do my best, and doing your best, even if it doesn't look good to other people, is still just okay. Just don't stress about, oh, this person did this or this person did that. Most of my friends were getting 30s. And I wasn't in the 30s, and I didn't take that to heart. I still came back to work really hard at what I do and to always remember to be myself. So don't stress if you don't get the score you wish, but always remember to stay on your journey and never forget that.
Thanks so much, Charles. We're going to end this question with Chris sharing a little bit about his journey during the test prep and college application process. Chris?
Thank you. I want to say everybody should, one, take the initiative of for themselves to learn more about the ACT. I'm a first generation college student, so nobody in my family has experience with taking the ACT and such. So I was in a college readiness program throughout my middle school to high school years that helped prepare me for that moment when I was going to take the ACT. Outside of that, as well, I took it my first time, and I was a little discouraged by my effort because I didn't know how to take it. And then after, trying to study for it, and I would say sometimes the best studying is maybe spending money on something that is going to potentially get you further and gain you money in the future. So look at it as an investment whenever you go to do ACT prep or something, because in the end it might really add up. So after actually getting some ACT prep, I did better on my second attempt, which allowed me to be admitted into all the colleges that I had applied to. Also, another thing that happened was COVID was around, which was a big thing. So college applications became, based more off of your GPA and what your involvement in school was. And it was straying away from the ACT standardized, oh, you need to have this set number to get into this college. However, I use that to my advantage because the colleges that I applied to, I realized like, oh, if I didn't have that set ACT score, it was okay because I knew my grades and my involvement in school was still good. So I encourage you to also be heavily involved in what you do in school and to as well be purposeful of what you do because you want to represent, a better picture of yourself whenever you go to apply to these schools in case you didn't meet those requirements that they're asking for you. That's basically my story.
So I want to thank all of our panelists for sharing a bit about their journey in the college application process, in the test prep process. I heard many nuggets from you. One, don't get discouraged if in your first attempt you don't get the score that you are looking for. There's always an opportunity to take another assessment if you are striving for a particular outcome. Think about multiple institutions early and set up your list of colleges and universities that you're interested in early. Know that you can have a great experience even if you are looking at lots of different institutions. You can have a great experience at many different institutions and that you should spread your net wide. Thank you so much for sharing lots of words of wisdom for our students to think about as they're navigating the college application admissions process. We're going to transition now to question 2. And just so that our panelists know the order that we're going in, we're going to start with Javay, then move to Charles, then move to Chris, and end with Fahad on our second question of the day. And today's second question is all about how do we pay for college? You were once a high school student going through this college application process, scholarships and internships and loans and jobs and lots of different choices of the type of college that you select, whether it be a college that requires $60,000 a year or a college that only requires $12,000 a year. There's a lot of range in terms of how we pay for college or how we finance college. So I would really appreciate if you could share any words of wisdom with current students about how each of you navigated the college scholarship or financial aid process and what you learned in that process. We're going to start with Javay, go to Charles, Chris, and then Fahad. Javay?
Scholarships, that's a big thing. So one thing I would say would be to start early. My junior year is when I started seriously think about scholarships and how to get them. I was always under the impression because my parents have gone to college like years ahead. So the college process has changed so much. So I was always under the impression that you couldn't start applying for scholarships until you were actually in the process of applying for colleges. This is completely not true. You can apply for scholarships at any time. Something that was difficult for me was finding reputable places to look for scholarships because a lot of stuff online is like scams and all that. Again, the best place to go is your counselor's office. They have all the resources and they're there to help you apply for scholarships and apply to college as well. I would encourage students not only to go after scholarships that offer like $20,000 or $10,000, but to go after the smaller scholarships that offer $500 or $1,000 because anything helps because college is very expensive. It's an investment. You're putting your money into it. So anything helps. Another word of advice I would give is that scholarships don't stop once you get to college. I'm still looking for scholarships, looking for things to fill out as much as possible to help. So take advantage of everything because everything helps.
Thanks a bunch, Javay. We'll move on to Charles.
All right. So in my scholarship process, I first wanted to go to Mizzou, and I knew how expensive Mizzou was. So I was spending hours looking for scholarships on like, how can I mitigate this $60,000 debt that I'm about to be in if I get accepted? And although I didn't get accepted, I still kept looking, knowing I was going to come to Missouri State. I kept looking and looking and looking, and eventually I found 2 great scholarships that can help me and put less stress on my parents, so that we're not worried about, like, is this going to bite us in the butt years down the road, or is this going to be like, something that is really beneficial for me and my family. And I come from a blessed background, so money wasn't a problem. But what would become a problem is the loans that I would end up paying back to my family. And I wanted to make sure that I could be in a situation or go to a college that didn't put so much stress on my bank account, and also help me get a career that can help me pay back my parents as soon as possible when I'm done with college. And also keep looking for scholarships all the way through. I am still looking for scholarships, still looking for opportunities to get money. Always try to go for that dean's list and keep your grades up, because the dean's list, that can help you so much. And just feeling like, don't let money scare you away from going to college that you want to. Just know the risk of going to a top end college. It's gonna be a lot, but if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to make sure that you're gonna look for every possibility to make this as cheap as possible for yourself and for your family, go for it. Don't let the cost or the dollar signs scare you away, but always keep looking for opportunities to make it easier on yourself. So that's what I have to say.
Thanks a bunch, Charles. Chris, take it away.
Okay, so I would start off first by looking at your connections in high school or around it, peers wise, because my guidance counselor, I would go to her office and they would have a list of like all local scholarships that you can apply for. And the thing is, most people don't take advantage of your local scholarships within your school. So even if it doesn't even fit in your criteria for that certain scholarship, I recommend applying as well, because in some sense, sometimes they have all this money that they're trying to give away to people, but nobody's applying to those scholarships. So it's like, I'd say put yourself first in this situation when it comes to your own education, okay? And personally, also look at your heritage. Like, if you know that you're a minority, or if you have some sort of background, look through your school's websites, because that's how I ended up finding a lot of my scholarship opportunities, because I go to like a PWI, so I know I'm looking for scholarships that have diversity into the titles. So just be selective with what you're applying for. Also continue. I second Javay and Charles when it comes to looking for scholarship opportunities, even once you are at the college level, because money doesn't always stop. Like that tuition that you're going to pay at the end of the year, that's not going to go anywhere. So those scholarships and the opportunities that you get, you actually end up getting more opportunities for scholarships, such as in your later years after freshman year, depending on your involvement and how active you are on campus, your grades. So make sure you're keeping those grades up. Also, make sure for your school, I don't know how everybody's schools are, but annual scholarships, make sure you're applying for those during the deadline. They open up and they have such a long period of time to where you can go out and fill out these applications. But again, a lot of people don't take advantage of it because people don't like to think or write. So I recommend just taking as much of the opportunities that are provided to you and use them to your best benefit to gain the most money for yourself in your future, because it is an investment in your future.
Thanks a bunch, Chris. We're going to turn it over to Fahad.
Hello. So for me, the experience for applying to scholarships was something kind of difficult because my parents went to college, but in the Middle East. So it's very different. I'm a proud Iraqi immigrant. So it's very different than going to college here. And I would, the only time I really heard about scholarships was maybe on TV or something like that. So I assumed you had to have a 4.0 GPA and be the team, like the captain of an ice hockey team. So I assumed it kind of had to be that, that extreme example, and that would be the only way you could get a scholarship. It was only up until, I had a faculty, Sarah Ryan, tell me that the scholarship portal was open, and I looked through it, and, GPA is something that is part of it. Personally, I do well in school, but science and math is something I kind of struggle in. So I don't have a 4.0, but they talk about what scholarships look for as extracurriculars, your personality, there was heritage that was talked about earlier. They're looking for more than that. And, from the beginning when I was applying, I used to beat myself about I shouldn't have gone that grade in that math class or that science class, and I don't have that desired GPA. But, you could either get curious or furious. So I tried to work with what I was good at. So I work in childcare, I work on the library board, and I'm very involved in extracurriculars because that's how I have to pay for college and the $100 textbooks. So I utilized what my strengths are, and that's what I really recommend to you. So really look inward. What am I good at? What do I bring to the table that I could talk about in this essay? Instead of, focusing on what other people are doing or beating yourself up about your grades or stuff like that. So I'd really say focus on your strengths, and you could even apply for scholarships even later. So it doesn't have to be right before college as well. So yes.
Thanks so much, Fahad. We have heard a lot of words of wisdom. Don't just apply for the big scholarships, but think about the small local ones. Always go to your counselor to get access to as much information as you possibly can. Make sure to play to your strengths and apply to as many scholarships as possible, spreading your net wide and thinking about your heritage, thinking about your extracurricular activities, thinking about who you are and what you bring to the table. And what I heard was stretch. Even if you're not sure if you meet all the criteria, make sure to apply and see what happens, because you never know. They might be interested in expanding the criteria to fit you because they're trying to give the money away. Make sure that you take advantage of all these words of wisdom from our great student panelists today. So, last but not least, this is the opportunity that we've asked our panelists to share words of wisdom about their navigation process in applying to college and their admissions process. If there was anything that our panelists wish that they knew when they were in high school that would have better prepared them or would have given them a leg up or would have given them a path forward now that they're in college, what words of wisdom would they want to share with current high school students? So if there was anything that they could share with current high school students about what they should do, what they should know, this is the panelists' opportunity to give their words of wisdom to current high school students on the call today. Our panelists know the order that we're going to start with. It's going to be Charles, then we'll go to Chris, then Fahad, and then Javeh will take us home for this last question. So, panelists, what words of wisdom or recommendations or suggestions would you have for the students on the call? What do you wish you knew when you were applying to college? Charles?
I wish that I knew that sports weren't everything. I know a lot of us here probably in this call play sports like I did. I ran track and played basketball in high school, and I thought that was the only way I was ever going to get a scholarship because I felt like my academics weren't good enough to get me any kind of scholarships. And I sat in high school with a 3.4 GPA, and I still didn't think that was good enough. So I felt like I had to be some LeBron James of high school in order for me to get anywhere in college. And that wasn't the case. The case is you just have to look. And when I found out that all I had to do was look for the scholarship and really sit down and apply myself and really expand my horizon to be required and meet the requirements for the scholarships, it really opened a lot of doors because when in high school, it's really about giving it your all, no matter what happens. And when college time comes, you're ready and you're prepared to succeed in college too. And really just putting that foot forward and getting that exposure in different areas that aren't something you would typically do every day is really good for you. And just remember that, sports aren't everything and that academics are ours too.
Thanks, Charles. Chris?
I would second that. I would just say, whatever you grew up doing, playing sports and such, I would try to expand your horizon because you want to get a general idea of what you like in high school before you get to college. I would also start thinking about college. I know as early as possible, but there's a lot of distractions, right? Because you're also new to high school and such. But as soon as possible, college should be a heavy emphasis because that should be the next step for everybody. At least I recommend it. But yeah, just never being, you know, just selected to one thing that makes you you. You can be anything that you want to be, but you just need to have that curiosity to go out there and branch out.
Thanks, Chris. Fahad?
I would say, don't be scared to kind of ask for help, because I remember applying for college and one word that would come to me was anxiety. It was very new and I was filling out applications, and FAFSA, like I can only imagine how paying for a mortgage is, because the paperwork for that was like really stressful and it was hard. And it took a little bit of vulnerability and going to a friend and asking them, and they were a first generation, of like what advice they would give. And I think as a first generation immigrant, at a very young age, we're helping our parents translate things. We're kind of helping them. So it's very hard for sometimes, I think, for us to ask for help. But I think in some ways that is important. It will make things easier and you can always learn from other people. And secondly, most importantly, remember that you are also deciding what college to go to. You're deciding what fits your criteria, what they want. And if a college necessarily doesn't accept you, they're the ones missing out as well. Because you bring a lot to the table. Your personality, your academics, who you are as a person. Your value does not come from where you go to school. So remember, you're the one that's paying the money. You're deciding as well. It's a two-way street.
Thanks so much, Fahad. Gervais, last words.
I would say that don't let anybody decide your future for you. It's your future. If you want to go to this college and everybody is telling you other things, I would put that on the back burner and just focus on yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the person who has to go to school and do it and do the work and pay for it. So don't listen to anybody else's opinions. And I would also not tell all the current high schoolers to not stretch themselves too thin. Focus on a couple of, if you want to do extracurriculars, focus on a couple and be good in those extracurriculars instead of trying to be just a regular member of 12 clubs, be the president or the secretary of only 2 or 3 clubs. So that's what I would say.
So I just want to say thank you to Gervais, to Fahad, to Charles, to Chris. They have shared nuggets and words of wisdom. I loved the quote, are you going to be curious or are you going to be furious? Let's definitely expand and use our curiosity. Let's think about all of the different ways that we bring excellence to the table and take advantage of you being in the driver's seat for the future that you are striving for. So please know that this is the last session in our My Journey event. Thank you for joining us for the last few hours. Thank you for staying engaged. Please know that we will send you a link to the entire set of sessions. We encourage you to review the sessions again and share the information with others. You will be receiving a survey in the email because we would love to get your feedback. Ask us questions. Encourage ACT to create more experiences like My Journey. If this has worked for you, please share it with others. We at ACT are excited about the future and want to lean in and support students along their education and workplace journey. We are cheerleaders for you, encourage you to achieve success and continue on. Thank you for joining the ACT My Journey experience. We'll see you next time.